My final project educational exhibit, I chose to create the event called Gardening for Good, which is a event that shows people how to get involved in community gardening to alleviate food insecurity in their communities. So this presentation will first go over the topic selection, how I ended up choosing this topic, the research that I found that supports my selection of the topic, a description of the event, and then my overall design process as we created the advertising deliverables. So I decided to choose the public interest topic of sustainable foods. Food is a human right. It's necessary for us to survive. So I thought it was a really important and interesting topic to explore. And then when I was looking for a subcategory issue to try to solve with this design project, I was decided to look into unsustainable food practices that can lead to food insecurity. So, an unsustainable agricultural practices, such as ones that cause soil erosion and nutrient depletion, pollution from pesticides, and air pollution, and then climate change impacts such as droughts, um, fires, flooding, and overall temperature fluctuation in certain areas reduce our food production capacity. So we're increasingly unable to produce the higher levels of food necessary to support a growing population. And to make matters worse, social and economic inequities create unequal access to and distribution of available food. So a lot of people are unable to have equal access to that food because of their social situations and the money that they have available. So, for the research to back this up, in 2023, 18 million American households experienced food insecurity, which any people experiencing food insecurity is an issue, but that's a pretty significant number. Residents of neighborhoods with limited transportation options, larger distance from stores, and fewer supermarkets are at greater risk of experiencing food insecurity because they're less able to access that food. And low-income communities and neighborhoods of color disproportionately display these characteristics. So they are more likely to not be able to access this food, which is a really big social justice issue. So when I was looking for solutions, I came across community gardening as a way to alleviate food insecurity. It's a localized way to provide fresh and healthy food to those in need. It is a non-exploitative practice, so since it's so small scale, it preserves soil health and is a great alternative to commercial farming. It's also, you don't need a lot of space for it, depending on the scale of the community garden. It can be created in certain public places, it can be carried out from someone's yard, or it can even be on top of an apartment building. It makes up for a lack of quality grocery stores in food insecure communities because the food is produced right there in the community. And a study showed that community gardens can lower household food security concerns by up to 90%, which, when you put it in perspective with that 18 million number from the previous slide, that is would have a great impact on reducing that number. So the event idea that I developed is a pop-up walkthrough educational and interactive exhibit. It's going to be held or would be held in Dallas, Texas, in a park that's located in an urban area downtown. So hopefully the foot traffic would entice people, or people would go by it and be more apt to interact with the exhibit. And I chose Dallas, Texas because the area ranks third among the nation's metro areas in food insecurity rates. And so I thought it would be a good place to teach people how to use community gardening to alleviate food insecurity in their community in a place that it's pretty prevalent. So the event first, when you walk in, it would have an informational wall that shares food insecurity facts, the benefits of community gardens, some stories from people who have been helped by community gardens, and a map that shows people where they can get involved in an already established community garden in the area. Then they'll move to some on-site garden beds where they can do hands-on practice for gardening. They can plant some seeds, they can pull up some vegetables or whatever produce. Will provide the tools to garden. And then at the end, there'll be some take-home gardening kits that have soil, pots, seeds, a gardening guide for the Texas area, so how to effectively grow this food, and then resources for starting your own community garden, finding a community garden, or resources also for how to donate the harvest to the people in need who are food insecure. So moving on to the design process, first we created a mood board. I'm actually really pleased with how this turned out. I went on Pinterest for inspiration and I was really drawn to these kind of muted colors. I thought they created a calm vibe, which gardening often brings people tranquility. And so I thought that that really lined up well with the characteristics of gardening. And then for the slightly bolder accent colors, I decided to pull those from the vegetables to stay on theme in the terracotta pots. And I thought that the oranges were a really good highlight and variation for the eye. I also wanted to create a balance between people and nature. Of course, they're growing food and they're interacting with plants, so nature is a big part of it, but I wanted them to be able to envision themselves interacting with a community garden by seeing actual pictures of people who are doing the work. And then I really liked a serif typeface. I thought it was refined and fit well with that calm feeling. And then I was also inspired, especially by that middle picture that says green. I just really, really liked how it looked. I thought it fit very well with the vibe I was going for. So for the promotional piece, clearly, I developed it and evolved it a lot. First, I really wanted to, for the photography option, put in again a picture of people interacting in a community garden, which I tried to execute in the first draft, but I don't have a lot of design experience, so it turned out a little, needed a little more oomph and just more appealing. I'm not super pleased with that, but once I submitted it for peer review, the suggestion was to look at templates. So I found a Canva template that fit really well with my color scheme and overall vibe, according to the mood board. So I put in the title, Gardening for Good. I added some white cream color to accent it and let the information um, kind of be more bold and easier to process. And I think what I do differently with this, I still would really like to include the pictures of people engaging in community gardens. So I think I would definitely do that differently and try to figure out either find a template or get better at design work to be able to implement that in a promotional poster. So for the event page, I took a lot of inspiration from Wix sites. I went on and kind of figured out the elements, the design elements, and the formatting that I liked, especially for the top navigation bar and the bottom informational bar with the contact information. In my wireframe sketch, I originally wanted to create a solid color line down the side, the left side, to create some cohesion as you're scrolling. But once I put it in, I really didn't like how it looked. It messed up the overall like gestalt principle. It just did not draw the eye in a cohesive way like I wanted it to. So I ended up taking that out. But overall, I kept the main wireframe. In the title, the Gardening for Good title, I directly copied and pasted the Gardening for Good title from my promotional poster and the Feature Community One Garden at a Time tagline. And then I took partial part of the photo for the promotional picture or poster to create that cohesion in the advertising. And then I carried over the greens for the video, the fake video. I wanted to show a larger scale community garden to show the general support for community gardening and what it can look like. I made sure to be clear, especially with the photos, of what getting involved in attending the exhibit would look like, so people had a better idea of what they were walking into. And again, tried to balance the photos of people so they could envision themselves interacting with the exhibit, and then also what a community garden in general looks like and the type of produce that someone could grow. So I'm also really pleased with how this turned out. I also, in overall, I really feel like my design capabilities improved, especially just in terms of the entire class, how to format things better, how to make things look really cohesive, use those Gestalt principles such as symmetry, some asymmetry, cohesive colors to enhance it. And I think that definitely I would be really interested in to actually create an event like this because I think it would do a lot of good for communities and be a really effective way to encourage people to alleviate food insecurity. So very glad that I completed this project.